What's going on, guys? Stevie here with Lucky Crit. Just got some quick Pokemon Go news for you all. It's not an update, but they did already make some tweaks to the Nearby and tracking system that we got an update for recently, and actually a reversion too, which is very interesting. So let's get right into that. So what they did was they made it so that Sightings has now returned to some extent. So basically, let's run down the list here. This is how it's currently working, thanks to Joshua from Reddit. This kind of goes through everything. So if there is a stop within visual range, you can see it on your map, and that stop has a Pokemon spawning near it, you will get the San Francisco tracker Nearby, aka the new Nearby where you see the Pokemon at the actual stop itself. Now, if there are less than 3 Pokemon near those stops, you will get some Nearby Pokemon showing up in your minibar, but they will not show up when you open up the tracker. If you catch everything that appears in the San Francisco tracker, you will revert back to the old Sightings. So you'll get rid of the new tracker, and you'll have the old tracker back, which will actually show you stuff around you and not the Pokestop itself. If there are no stops within visual range, or the stops within visual range do not have Pokemon spawning near them, you will have the old Sightings. So I actually did notice this when I went to my girlfriend's house in Massachusetts. There was a Pokestop nearby, but it's a church and it doesn't actually have any spawn points on it for whatever reason. So I still had the old tracking system, which I thought was very interesting, and I was actually kind of surprised and excited because I personally like the old Sightings better. But the fact that they are reverting it, so that means a lot of rural players will still be able to play as they used to before this update a couple of days ago. I think that's really awesome. And it kind of, I guess sort of, for the time being, confirms that they're not actually intending on removing Sightings 100%, because the fact that they're bringing it back to some extent means, I guess, they want some kind of a harmony between the two systems. I don't know. Recently, I made a video about the tracking system update and all the problems and issues associated with it, and when I posted it to social media, I actually got a lot of people telling me that the reason that they're doing this is because they want to get rid of Sightings completely, because they don't want people trespassing, and kind of along the lines of the lawsuits that they figured they would get from people when it came to car accidents with spinning Pokestops and catching Pokemon. People are kind of following the same thing with that, saying because the app requires you to actually physically go places in order to play it, apparently they are somewhat legally liable if people trespass or anything like that. So a lot of people were assuming that that's why they wanted to completely ditch Sightings, absolutely, to avoid all of that, and that's why stuff would be at Pokestops, and that way, you know, if somebody complains about a Pokestop or doesn't want people there, they can easily just remove that Pokestop, and that'll be the end of that. But it seems like maybe that's not the case now, because they kind of just handed Sightings back a little bit. So the change is not going to be as drastic and as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was kind of worried about this because I just don't see the point in seeing very far away when you have a lot more interesting stuff around you anyway. But basically, if you're in a populated area that has a lot of Pokestops, maybe it won't be that different for you because you'll be around all those Pokestops and you can go pick up the Pokemon there and just know what's there a little bit better without having to track stuff down. I'm still kind of against the idea of knowing what's already there. I like tracking stuff down and finding it myself, but I'm definitely a lot happier with this than I was a couple days ago. So knowing this is really cool. And apparently they also extended the Sightings range from 50 meters that we got kind of nerfed, I think a couple months ago at this point. They've extended it to like 200 meters again. So you see farther in terms of the Pokemon in your nearby list. And to me, that's kind of a mixed bag too, because I do remember when they made that change, people were very worried at first, but when you actually saw something in your chart, it meant that it was a lot closer to you than you might have originally thought. So when the game launched, if something was in your chart, it could be, you know, decently far away. Not sure about like specifically how far it could be, but stuff was a lot further away from you in the beginning like that. And when they decreased it to 50 meters, stuff was a lot closer. So if you saw that Dragonite in that chart, you knew it kind of had to be somewhere within your kind of visual range on the actual game screen. So the fact that they've extended it again, I guess is good for rural players because now they'll see a little bit farther. But for players like me, I don't know if that's a good change or a bad change. I guess we'll just have to play and figure it out. On top of that, we have another change that we know. Prestiging gyms just got made easier. So they did nerf prestiging gyms recently when they also made it so you gain more points for attacking gyms. You know, that was kind of to upset the level 10 gyms everywhere and destroy that kind of corrupt, I guess, game balance. So now they've actually made it so you can actually get 1,000 prestige again from prestiging gyms. So it looks to be a little bit more balanced now. You'll gain 1,000 by defeating each Pokemon in the gym, and you'll also gain 1,000 by prestiging the gym as well, which I think is really, really cool. I'll post the actual formulas right here on the screen for you to look at. It definitely looks a lot more balanced, and I think that's going to be really great for the game overall. So let's hope that this is probably, you know, one of the last times it gets tweaked drastically. Hopefully this will just be a solid change from this point on. A lot of people are also assuming, based on a somewhat recent leak, a questionable leak, that we might potentially be getting Generation 2 this upcoming week on December 7th. Now, I believe it was a Starbucks employee that posted some sort of a list of upcoming events, and it was something like Pokemon 2 or something like that, and so a lot of people were assuming, maybe this is somebody that doesn't really understand Pokemon, and they were just writing down notes about some upcoming event that's going to happen. So people are assuming it's going to be Pokemon Generation 2 coming out December 7th. Now, there's no real actual proof aside from that posted image, so I would take it with a grain of salt. It would make sense, I guess. We got all the data in the game for the new Pokemon weeks ago. I talked about it in a previous episode, which you can check out up here. So I guess we'll see what happens. I'll be in Florida at the time of that happening, and so that might be interesting or bad. I don't know. We'll have to find out. If it does happen, I'll definitely be sure to let you know with an update as fast as I can. So please be sure to subscribe if you like this content and you like to see the updates straight to your homepage. I also want to point out one more thing. In the last episode, I did talk about how San Francisco had the tracker where it had the new Nearby and the old Sightings integrated together. So it was kind of like the 3 slots at the bottom were for Sightings and the top 6 were for the new Nearby system. So they had a mix. And apparently, the day before it rolled out to more places about 2 weeks ago, they killed that version and gave everybody just a straight up new Nearby tracker. So in the last episode, I did talk about how San Francisco basically had a better version than we had right now. That's actually not the case. They do only have Nearby as we have it right now. So I'm not sure why they killed that mixture of the two systems. I kind of figured at first it was because they did want to get rid of Sightings, but that doesn't seem to be the case right now, so I'm not sure. Maybe they're coming up with a better system. Maybe they're actually listening to people and working on making 2 different tabs for both of the systems. That would be very awesome. I would really appreciate that. So I just wanted to update you on that. That's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.